after a year away, we're finally back to talk some Ted Turner. What the shit are you doing, son? Welcome to Popcast Movie Club, the Roundtable, with Chris and AJ and myself, and making the hot tag in because puns is Owen.
Yeah, I guess I'm Ricky Morton today.
No, trying to think who was making a dod. I'm trying to think who was making a dodgy, unnecessary tag in a recent match. Insert name here.
Probably something I wouldn't watch because I don't watch anything other than AEW.
It was probably somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, just so happens. I'm guessing we timed this on purpose, Owen.
Oh, of course.
Okay, because last week was the 25th anniversary of this thing
That's right.
releasing allegedly somewhere. Because what I can find in terms of UK box office is allegedly it released in November of 2000. Adds another postcard as to who actually watched the thing. Case in point, it's randomly available on streaming to purchase and to rent on Amazon and YouTube, and that's about it.
I have an answer to that, and the irony is not lost on me what day this came out. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it came out on the 7th of this month.
When I think we were aware at the time we were on the 25th anniversary. I think it's a total accident that we were only like a week off.
Yep.
From it being exact.
Theoretically speaking, we could have done this before, but there kind of was a pay-per-view, so that wouldn't have worked. I had to watch Drop on the 7th anyway, which, yeah, that was a thing that happened.
So yeah, the thing I've tried to work out is who the hell do we have to blame for this happening? Because everybody was telling me, oh, it's Russo, and it's like, no, Russo's to blame for the failed marketing that came after the release. I'm trying to work out which bloody person within Turner's network, or I'm trying to think. We were roughly, this is before the New Line sort of merger came in, right? The AOL Time Warner stuff.
Right.
Because I think that was mid 2000. So I'm trying to work out who signed this off in '99 to be made.
Well, in essence, they were trying to do it so they could save WCW. Because WCW was on its deathbed, and they really thought that this might bring it back. And unfortunately, by the time that the movie came out, there wasn't really anybody watching it other than the diehard WCW fans that mostly had trickled away as the years have moved on.
It's enough of a mess in itself, in that it was supposed to be done like, from what I can tell, Bischoff was actually sort of behind it and was willing to play like a
himself.
fictionalized version of himself.
Yeah, he got taken out of power, and that's when they brought in Joey Pants to take over and basically be Don Callis from ECW.
Which they filmed over 2 months.
Right.
And then the hilarious nature of the fucking WCW, as it was, is by the time the film came out, Bischoff was back in.
Yes,
so
he was.
We could have done it that way anyway. Oh my word.
So I'm curious, because Owen, you're a little older than we are.
Yes.
I don't know exactly what you remember about that time, but my memory of seeing the movie in the theater, and I feel like this happened a lot, especially because I would have been April of 2000. I would have been 9.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it feeling like a big deal, where it was like, I was mentioning this to Owen the other day. Also, was that particular Nitro logo that's in the movie is the Nitro logo that I associate with basically the death of WCW.
Yeah, for
Where it's like
sure.
it was like right in there when it was happening. But at the same time, I remember being very satisfied with this movie
Oh
when I
yeah.
saw it in the and like seeing, all I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people missing in it, but there were so many people that were like basically all of the giants to us. Even the people that were like that might seem like the borderline jobbers that are in this. Or like, oh my god, it's like, oh my god, it's Kidman or something like that, or Prince Iakea or
The
something.
non-canon Rey Mysterio.
Why is Van Hammer in this movie? Um,
Time, I think it probably just come out, so we were in one of like the big auditoriums. We were in the second
yeah.
biggest auditorium, and I didn't learn until much later in life that it was like a massive failure
Yeah, they
because at the
lost a
time
lot of money on it.
just like just the year before when Mystery Men was out and we saw it in the theater and like our showing was packed and that was my memory of that movie. And then when I learned later it's like, oh no, that was like a massive bomb. It's
Well,
like I just didn't realize.
Chris, I don't know if you remember the story about Ready to Rumble when I watched it the first time. I don't remember if I told you. I don't remember if you were around me or with me at the time, but I remember very distinctly because we wouldn't have known each other yet, obviously, but working around that area because of friends at the time. Um, I went to the wrong theater, so I missed the very beginning of the movie. I'll never forget that. I went to the wrong
And you
auditorium,
told me,
so I missed the very beginning
where
of the
the
movie.
hell bitch?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I walked in on the WCW scene, so I missed like the exposition at the very beginning of the movie. So I was like, well, I kind of win, so it's fine.
What did you walk into by accident?
No, I just walked into there was two theaters for Ready to Rumble,
Oh, you
and
went
I
into
walked into the opposite theater.
right.
I had thought that I had missed a lot of the movie, but then I come to find out very quickly I did not. But yeah,
So
go ahead.
so it made $12.5 million on a $24 million budget. So yeah, it was a loss, but it still made something. And the WCW fans came out to see it, but by that time, like the writing was already on the wall, and the only people left hanging on to WCW were people like me who still continued to watch WCW until it died because I was a WCW guy. I always was a WCW guy. I would watch Nitro over Raw almost every single time, and that was even during the Attitude Era. I was always more into WCW because I liked more about wrestling than the stories. But that's just how I am. When you're a commentator, that's what you gravitate towards. And one of the things that I did was I was always go to the WCW house shows in Charleston, West Virginia, which was hours away from where we all lived at the time. And I was always the WCW guy and always like had like summer camp with the NWO and everything like that. I had a bunch of younger campers as my little minions, and we two sweeted each other and everything like that. So yeah, I was a WCW guy. So I was super excited for this movie, and I remember very distinctly watching Thunder, the night of the tag match that changed the wrestling business forever. When that spear happened and David Arquette got that 3 count and became the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, I was down with this story because, I mean, I had nothing in it. I was like, all right, this is really cool. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is promoting the movie. Yet, I didn't know exactly what was really going on at the time. So,
Yeah, well,
it was great promotion for the movie, but then we progress.
what was it though? Because I don't know if we touch on it now or touch on it later when we've actually discussed the film. Because
Yes and
I
no.
looked into the box office figures and
Mm.
the pay-per-view that featured
Yes,
something
Lamborghini.
that prominently features in the movie
Mm.
at the very end that they clearly did to try and promote the movie to get people to watch it. It didn't even take $100,000 that weekend. You know what took 300 plus grand in its 34th week? And this is where AJ's got to try and guess, because it's kind of trivia. What movie that came out in the fall of 99 was somehow still around after 34 weeks? Admittedly, it had dropped out the top 10. It wasn't there for all of its run, but it came back into the top 10 for kind of a golden reason, shall we say?
My knee-jerk guess would have been The Matrix.
No. Think Petals.
American Beauty?
American Beauty took 3 times as much money that weekend as Ready to Rumble.
Wow.
To be honest, I was also looking up, I think the thing that... Oh, what was it? There was a god-awful film that came out, like... Oh, yeah, the big quote-unquote hit at the box office after a number 6 for Warner Brothers after this was a number 2, $11 million haul for Battlefield Earth. So in case you thought Warner Brothers was bad in 2025, it was just as bad in 2000.
Yikes.
It only got saved by the perfect storm in sort of like late June, early July.
One of the things that, now that we're talking about when this came out, what I found really interesting, and I learned this with Owen recently also, and I'm curious how you are with this. It's crazy that before doing this, I hadn't seen this movie in maybe close to 20 years.
Same.
There was the one time we saw it in the theater, and then we had the VHS, which I watched a lot, and then it was on TV a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere in surely by the mid 2000s, it had gone out of like frequent syndication. But yet, I rewatched a DVD that I've had for a while. I was telling Owen, I don't even remember getting my DVD. I've just had it. It just exists. And I watched it just like last week in preparation for this. And I realized that even after almost 20 years, I didn't even need to rewatch it. This entire movie, from beginning to end, frame by frame, has lived unscathed in my brain, and I still remembered every single line and moment before it happened.
Yes.
And it's like that's gotta speak for something. Do you have a particularly vivid memory of it?
Not anything vivid, but like I remember pretty much front to back what happens.
When's the last time you saw it?
It was within the last year. Because I think the copy I have, I think I bought it at the exchange for $1.
Oh, that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure.
I probably got mine for $1 or less if I had to guess.
Well, it sounds like so few people watch the UK, they're just giving it out on the street, and people are like, no, thanks. They're treating it like the people that come up to you with their rap album, and they're like, just listen. You're like, nah.
And here's what happened the other day. I had just rewatched it, and then I was talking to Owen over the phone.
Well,
And I swear, Owen had not seen it for, probably about 20 years or so?
yeah, shoot, 100%.
And he was quoting entire scenes to me verbatim. There was no word missed.
Nope.
Like, regardless of the movie's quality, that has to amount to something, surely.
I still use the treachery line, like, in regular speak with my friends to this day.
I'm glad to see you guys have rose-tinted glasses on this, because I vaguely remember seeing it 15 years ago and thought it was fun. And something must have happened to me in those 15 years, because, like, I felt this was like teeth pulling without anesthetic, and being glared at with the ready to the right to censor siren klaxon just going on constituent alert.
I can't wait. If we're gonna be, I can't wait to hear, like, from a perspective of like a more or less negative review. I'm very excited to hear what that like I said, I have a soft spot for the movie, but I'm totally open to hearing something negative.
Don't get me wrong. There's bright points in it. One of which I never got until I just noticed it watching it again in the last day or so. When the bloody, evil booker that definitely isn't. I swear, bloody Shawn Michaels has taken bloody Joe's look and going, "That's what I'm doing now," because he
looks like
exactly like
Cyrus.
fucking Shawn does now when he's doing NXT.
No, actually, he looks like Cyrus. He literally looks like Cyrus from ECW.
He's got the glasses. He's got the stupid jacket. He's got the hat. It's Shawn. It's
Cyrus. Back then, it would have been Cyrus.
But yeah, he's talking with DDP.
Right.
And then, I guess he walks off, when he hears the plan of, like, he's getting the belt and Jimmy King's getting screwed over. And he does the line, "That works for me, brother." And then looks dead at the fucking camera. Which I swear is everybody and their mothers taking a shot at Hogan. Because of the infamous "that doesn't work for me, brother" thing that he supposedly said whenever something didn't agree with his booking decisions because he's Hulk Hogan.
There are a lot of commentary that I've heard throughout the years that Hogan was approached about being a part of the movie, and yeah, that was his answer. So yeah, to the surprise of everyone.
But Iron Unit Mega Mountain, I guess, worked just fine.
Yes.
You just know that if Bischoff was in the movie, Hogan would have jumped at it. But as soon as Bischoff was not involved, the old "that doesn't work for me, brother" came to be. And that's why Bash at the Beach 2000 happened. Probably.
That is funny to literally. They're like years apart, but literally imagining Ready to Rumble. "That doesn't work for me, brother." Through Ninja's High Noon and Mega Mountain. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's another right guard commercial too.
I will say, one thing that I thought was interesting was, how do we feel about Oliver Platt's portrayal of a wrestler?
So, the general consensus of who Jimmy King is supposed to be has been split for years. Contrary to popular belief, it's not officially someone, but it's got little tinges here and there that, oh, wow, wink, wink, it's not this person, but it very well could be. The one I've always heard was it was a nod to Ric Flair. Lots of the Jimmy King backstory, definitely Ric Flair. Funny thing is they also have mentioned Jerry Lawler as well. And it's never been confirmed exactly who the person is supposed to be. WCW created it as a parody, basically, of WWF back in the day. So there's never been a confirmation on who Jimmy King is supposed to be. But I definitely see a whole lot of Ric Flair. And if you watch the excellent Brian Zane video from Wrestling with Regret, he also concurs with that statement.
Obviously, by the nature of his title, you also see maybe a dig at Lawler.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
because
both.
arguably Memphis would
Like
have
a
been
combination of both.
Memphis would have been a big competition for WCW as it was back in the heyday of the '90s, sort of thing, when it seems to be that sort of style character.
I just want to know which one of them contributed to the persona of him hiding out in a trailer in a wig and giant glasses.
I
Patterson
mean,
and
Jerry
Gerald
Lawler did
Briscoe.
have.
You've seen that bloody ballroom gown street fight from King of the Ring 2000.
Back in the day, I know how to verbalize things because I'm good at it. It's my job, after all. Jerry Lawler could have had some trouble with the law given his preferences. So, needless to say, maybe hiding out in trailer park in drag would have made sense.
Just don't ask Doug Gilbert, or he might tell you bluntly to your
Allegedly.
face. Doug Gilbert might tell you blatantly to your face.
Or get arrested for stealing money from a promoter in Parkersburg, but we're not going there.
I mean, who wouldn't?
I had to deal with it there. Him and Tommy Rich both. Anyway. But yeah, it's interesting. Go ahead, Jay.
Kind of also on this Oliver Platt thing, I remember it being interesting to me because we knew like all the wrestlers at the time, at least WCW related. And I remember like wondering as a kid, like, is this, like, who is this guy exactly? Because he seems like, when he's doing his promos and stuff like that, he seems like he knows what he's doing. Here's the funny thing. I've known Oliver Platt my entire life because of Beethoven.
Yep.
And it was years before I put that together that was it.
So
I remember it was borderline mind-blowing when I realized.
WCW Mayhem came out for the PlayStation soon after this movie. And I remember the first thing I did is create Jimmy King so I could relive this movie.
I haven't bought one since WWE 2K23, but on 2K23 on the Community Creations, you can still find Jimmy Kings to this day.
Excellent. That's how it should be.
And the funny thing is with the way the graphics have come and stuff, it looks like you're downloading Oliver Platt.
Well,
great.
The thing is, though, it's like, even to this day, even after the movie came out, I always have referred to a double axe handle as a crown. And the act of crowning someone because of this movie. I've done it in commentary for many years after the movie came out.
There was a wrestling show I went to, I think it was a couple years, no, it was the Jericho Cruise when I was on it last year. I heard somebody yell in the cafeteria, "I will rule you!" And I was like, it lives.
And now Warhorse does it until he embraces nihilism, and now he changes his gimmick. Anyway. But yeah, I like Jimmy King. I like him as a character. I don't know why he has to rap. That's a little strange.
It's the Wrestle Rock Rumble.
And it makes no sense at all to his character.
It's the Wrestle Rock Rumble. It's a callback to AWA.
You know, honestly, there's the Lawler connection again, and it rears its ugly head. Exactly. So there you go.
There is one thing I'm curious about, Owen, now that you've rewatched it recently.
Literally like minutes ago.
This is kind of a two-sided movie for you.
Yeah.
Because it's a wrestling movie and you clearly have a passion for that side of it. This is also a buddy comedy with extremely low-brow humor, which is totally not your thing. So how do you feel about those scenes now? I'm curious.
Honestly, I knew they were coming because obviously I've known, and again, like I said, the Brian Zane video just reminded me again because that's the last thing I watched, and that was like months ago. But the thing about it is that you say that, and you know me better than anyone, literally. But the fact of the matter is, it's just like I take my love for Kevin Smith movies. It's like, I understand some things are supposed to be funny and sometimes work in context. Having like excrement drip in the background as they're eating food. I mean, would that have popped me when I was a kid? Probably. But now, no. The running with the devil scene with the nuns in the van. I definitely am not going to say that. That's a scene I didn't react to.
Even as a kid, I feel like the farting nun payoff feels very tacked on. Like, why is that there?
And
you would think that the peak of the joke is getting into this thing running with the devil, and I love the first nun that whips her lighter out.
Yeah, that was good.
Like That's a perfect way to end the nuns. That's such a weird second joke.
I feel like there's a writer somewhere, not just for Ready to Rumble, but for all movies, that goes around and just hops from studio to studio, and there'll be a well-written joke, and they're like, "Well, what if this happens?" And they write it and run away, and it just somehow stays.
Freeberg and Seltzer.
Yeah,
Okay.
I see where you're coming from 100%.
We know they exist. Yeah, because the fact that they work in sewage is something that's really milked.
Yeah.
I do love though when the sewage truck crashes that a toilet paper truck crashes too.
Yeah. Yeah, and a little irony joke within the lowbrow humor.
Mm,
It's something.
yeah.
It's a little it's basically like tar and feathering, pretty much, is what it happens.
At the same time, I was trying to
It's
work out
the only
which
joke
bloody...
that works with them working in sewage. Like that's the only payoff I remember and recognize from them working in sewage is their truck crashes and a toilet paper truck crashes too.
Although at the same
And on top of
time,
the fact
who
that
the fuck
when
dropped
it-
the
when
oil?
they're-
Who the
Yeah.
fuck dropped the oil to make both of the vehicles bloody slip to cause the incident? And
Well,
why is it Vince McMahon?
Yours was caused by Sean beating the steering wheel.
Yeah. The oil seeped out of the truck as it was being turned and flipped and everything like that, and it created its own problem. So basically, it was like a Rube Goldberg situation. It created its own issue. And now we have Final Destination 35. It's okay.
That's
I heard
coming out
somebody
in
the
a
other
couple
day
of months,
refer to Final Destination as Death by Rube Goldberg, and I haven't been able to. It's lived rent free in my head since then.
Just don't tell Oz Perkins about it. You're good to go. He's in the corner. I need to go get him. No, he's fine. He's okay. The monkey lives over there.
It's also
It's safe. Very, very safe.
It's also so funny to me to think about how much of a time capsule this movie is in a number of ways.
Oh my God, yes.
You've got everything. You've got everything from Gay Panic to a Kid Rock soundtrack to some of the casting choices and stuff, and even stuff that's like wrestling related, like when and a time capsule in a sense of it's a period of time where you can remember and identify, like when you see the crowd during the first event and it's like all Sting merch in
Oh,
the
yeah.
crowd, and it's like you actually remember that period where that's basically the way it was.
And the funny thing about it was, and it's clear because it's actually documented, that Sting and Goldberg, even though they are very crucial to the movie, they are the main selling points of the movie. Even though they're not like main characters, they are very important to the events of what happens as the movie progresses. Which they were WCW back then, especially when it was about to end.
Yeah,
Dallas
it's weird how it's like seeing it is like it like takes your brain time traveling back to 2000.
It's funny too because you remember Sting being the big guy in charge because that's who Joey Pants drops the F-bomb on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only time it dropped in the entire movie.
To the guy that's ultra religious.
Oh my God. So here's the thing. I want to talk about these stables. Whose bright ass idea? I get Bam Bam because the Jersey Triad, which is hilarious, spinning up Canyon too, which is funny if you really think about it. But I mean, Hoovy, that's fine, sure, whatever. But having the baby face of the movie, the main people backing him up, Conan, Perry Saturn, and the greatest wrestler of all time, the late great Kurt Hennig.
Which fits because of the whole king thing.
Exactly.
The only one that fits. Bloody, Conan out there looking like he's an NSYNC fucking Cabbage Patch Kid. With whatever that fucking attire was.
He just stared like a deer in headlights. He's standing in the ring doing nothing. He's like, oh, Carlos, seriously, dude, come on.
For a minute
And
as well,
okay.
I thought Tony Schiavone wasn't going to say a word. He was just there, like, staring, like Mike today was saying everything, like, say something, Tony.
Hey, back in the days of WCW, that's how it worked. You remember that. But, okay. We brought up Prince IK already, all right? That's fine. Hoovy, that's fine. Van Hammer, really? Come on. Van Hammer? Really?
I mean,
I've always hated Van Hammer. Always.
To me,
I hated Van Hammer when he shot ping pong balls out of his guitar. I hated him in the flock. I hate the fact that he's the reason we got the Briscoes, because he helped train them, which blows my freaking mind. Where did that training come from? Because Van Hammer obviously didn't do it. So, and he's in the movie a lot. And I was like, I remember watching it, I was like, why is Van Hammer in this movie? I'm sure Shane Helms doesn't like Van Hammer being in the movie after he gets launched into the side of the wall.
I just love the scene where they go to get Martin Landau, and for some reason, Psycho Sid is the Marv of this little adventure.
Oh my God.
One of the many continuity whatever the fucks with this. You know, Paige comes out.
Right.
Ready for the match where he's, gonna screw over the king.
To not his music, a version of his music.
Yeah, thanks Ahmet Zappa. You ruined
Ahmet
wrestling
Zappa,
before
Max
John
Martin
Cena
version of
did it at
music.
WrestleMania 41, allegedly. But yeah, so he comes out, and then Gene's doing the introductions for the king. Except randomly standing behind Gene,
right,
is Sid and Saturn and all that.
Right.
And then King makes his entrance with nobody, and then, his posse show up of Conan and stuff. And, they're still at ringside and whatever.
Mm.
And then the match starts. And then we get into shenanigan territory. And then all of a sudden, Sid and gang run from the back. Where they came from, where did they go, where did they come from, Cotton Eye Joe? And then the same happens with the face bloody King's gang. And like, what the is there like a secret tunnel that's going underneath? Like this.
I mean, Ashley, the New York arena doesn't exist, so it's possible.
Yeah, but that bloody farm that they drove past 5 times does exist, apparently more than once.
I do love the fact that when it's really obvious to tell that it's Chris Kanyon. Like, it is obvious to tell it's Chris Kanyon. Oh my God. Same with Shane Helms, too. If you don't know that, though, it's funny because, like, when he's getting catapulted over the top through the table, you can clearly tell it's Chris Kanyon. Like, Oliver Platt's not taking that. Come on. See, as somebody who's been in the wrestling business for years that sadly had to get out of it because there was no more companies to work for anymore, because that's what happens when you kill a territory, folks. The thing is, I really like the walk and talk. I love that. That's fun. It was good for wrestling fans, smarter wrestling fans, not necessarily like the GP watching the movie, but smarter wrestling fans, them calling spots and everything like that. I thought that was a really fun scene. Exposed the business like crazy, but GP don't know that, so it's fine. And you know what's
I remember that being like.
Good.
I remember being a little controversial with the wrestler about how sort of revealing it was.
Yeah, we don't talk about Mickey Rourke anymore. He's already lost his mind.
I do remember, because I remember the thing that got me sort of out of wrestling right around that age and right around the death of WCW is when it was occurring to child me that it was like, obviously this whole thing, not fake, but like everything was predetermined.
Yeah, predetermined is the verbiage that most wrestlers, especially old school wrestlers, would be more happy to use.
And so I remember being thrilled about a movie where the plot is, I didn't know the terminology at the time, but the work becomes a shoot is basically what the plot is.
It's Montreal 2 years later. It takes a lot from Montreal.
Whereas like the climax of this movie is wrestling, but they're really hurting. They're trying to hurt each other for real.
You know what's funny
I
about
remember,
that?
I remember.
Go ahead.
What's that?
No, continue, because I want to.
I was just gonna reiterate that I love the concept.
Are you aware what the alternate ending was going to be? This was brought to my attention today, and I'm not necessarily sure how it would have worked, but it was DDP that had this idea, and they didn't go with it.
Yeah.
So apparently, at the end of the match, as we saw everything in the end, we're going to have a camera shot of DDP and Jimmy King hugging in the back, with Sean and Gordy walking in and seeing that it was all a work all along. And they didn't go with that idea. I feel like they went with the right idea, because I think the general public would have been so confused, and I don't think it would have. I think it would have really backfired if they would have went with that idea. If it was just wrestling fans watching it, I think they would have had something that they could have hung their hat on. But at that, no, they went with the right ending. Martin Landau in a hot tub. God bless America. So.
It reminds me of the way they reveal it in Man on the Moon that the Lawler thing was a work with Kaufman.
Oh my God, yeah, tell me about it.
I just gotta throw this out there real quick on wrestling related. If there's any Scream fans out there that are really uncomfortable seeing a sexual side plot with David Arquette and Rose McGowan, who we know as siblings from that
movie.
It is
quite funny to think about David Arquette taking a police exam.
Yeah.
Knowing what would happen later on in life.
Given how weird that stuff got with Rose, I'm just fearing this is the movie that Harvey watched and said yes. It kind of does feel like that way, because Rose is a better actress than that.
I like the fact she's basically the stand-in for Kimberly Page. Which is funny, because if you look at those wonderful Gold's Gym documents from back in the day, Kimberly and Bischoff had, allegedly, things potentially, possibly, but that's just all speculation that is currently on the internet if you want to talk about it.
That's a question for Jerry Springer.
Yes.
There's something else I feel like needs to be addressed, given the title of the movie.
The fact that we get dropped to an hour and 24 minutes in.
Well, the thing is that obviously it's a known thing for a while now that Michael Buffer basically asks for a mansion every time he will say that.
That's correct.
Pretty much.
And so when this is a big movie production by Warner Brothers and it's the title of the movie, you would think he would say the phrase. Am I missing something in regards to him?
Wondering whether they basically didn't want to use up so much of the budget, so they said, we'll pay you half of it if you say half of it.
We Are Ready to Rumble does not cost as much as Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
It's like I said, I can't express this enough. It's so crazy to me that this is Warner Brothers and it's the title of the movie and they didn't shell out.
But think about it though. It's literally announcing the main event of the entire show, which is what we built to since the beginning of the movie. This is the climax. Let's Get Ready to Rumble makes sense, but We Are Ready to Rumble is one of those CinemaSins title drop gimmicks that don't cost as much. So, yeah, it makes sense in the span of everything.
I wonder whether the Acclaim game, though, affected it.
It's possible. The boxing game? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, because, of course, that became Ready to Rumble with the number
with 2. With the numeral 2. Yeah.
To not cause any, because they played up the wazoo, because that had Let's Get Ready to Rumble in a lot.
Mm-hmm. And Michael Buffer used to do a lot of special guest ring announcing for a lot of the WCW main events in like the late 90s and early 2000s.
Brett the Hitman Clark. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Calling him Brett Clark. Oh my God. Yeah, I know what you mean. So.
Yeah, I usually take.
Go ahead.
I usually take notes to prepare for these. I had very few, so I wasn't sure like which flow we were going with, but we're just doing it as we go. So
yeah,
I basically made my own personal points. So
sure,
that's the end of me.
Okay, Chris.
I'm just sitting here thinking, when it came out, like where WCW was when it came out, all those extra people that trained and helped Jimmy King, WCW can't afford them.
Yeah, they were working at the power plant. It's okay. Well, then we get to the elephant in the room, which is, or should I say, the prototype in the background. I can't confirm this, but it wouldn't surprise me if they utilized some of the Rick Bassman students from UPW at the time to be background extras in that scene in New York where we first see John Cena's first time on any film screen ever in the background, looking exactly like his prototype self. And that's been something that they've talked about for years. It's like you have Goldberg
there,
pumping weights, and next thing you know,
the added joke there is 2006 when we had the whatever the weird feud it was between then WWE champion in Cena, world heavyweight champion in Booker T, or King Booker as he was,
right?
and ECW champ Big Show.
Yep, I know what you're talking about because I was reading about it myself.
Because they were bringing up the Marine.
Yep.
Because that was obviously seen as big project at the time. Then Big Show obviously bringing up Waterboy.
Right.
And then King Booker bringing up his cameo appearance in Ready to Rumble. In that
with his
random
mustache
bit where he's hanging out in the trailer park or whatever the... No, it's the bloody warehouse from WWF Warzone on the PS1. It's that... And then, you know, Big Show and Cena laugh, and everyone else is going, yeah, but you were in it as well, Cena.
And you know, if it would have been about a year earlier, I have a feeling good old Paul White would have been in the movie too.
Maybe.
It would have been funnier to have him in
that, I find it fascinating that this was shot over allegedly only 2 months.
It shows.
And 4 months later, it was already out in cinemas. They really put that together rather rapidly.
And it's funny because if you read the credits, the laundry list of WCW personalities and John Cena, and everybody, himself, herself. Billy Silverman, of all people, is the only one credited under his shoot name and not himself. That needed to be said.
And then also, I looked into it because I was like, I thought I'd seen the girl that plays Kitty.
I thought I was looking at that too,
King's
but I wasn't sure.
She did a few things here and there, like Rush Hour 1 and 2 or something, like as a bit person. And then disappeared off the face of the earth because she married a baseball player and had twins. And that's all she did. That's what you get for being a February, whatever year it was, Playmate in Playboy.
Well, and again, there's another Lawler connection. Her name was Pretty Kitty, so there you go.
Yeah.
I remember, and we were having the discussion that this is one of those movies people talk about a lot where it would have been a totally different story if it came out like 2 or 3 years before it did.
for sure.
how it came out like kind of past its expiration date, and that's something that really sort of sealed the fate for it.
Yeah, but if it comes out at that time, you've probably got heavy involvement from Hulk Hogan. So you
Hmm.
get no. He probably takes the place of Oliver Platt. Bischoff had total control, so Joey Pants is probably gone. So then you've probably got David Arquette, Scott Conn, and that's about it. Or whoever would have been big at that time.
So essentially, no holds barred too.
Yeah.
Tiny could have got a payday that way.
Except you'd be minus Kurt Fuller, and if you're no holds barred minus Kurt Fuller, what's the point?
If you're anything minus Kurt Fuller, what's the point?
Plus,
Joey
there'd
Pants
have
calling
been
someone a
some
jock
clause
ass
saying
is
Brutus the
hilarious.
Barber Beefcake had to be somewhere involved.
Yes.
It's so crazy how vividly I can imagine Jockass in Joey Pants' voice.
Same.
It's like
So
I was,
so
I
yeah.
was, I was,
Go ahead.
I was joking with Owen the other day how funny it is that watching it back, and there's a moment where I think it's the first time we see Sinclair, and he's coming down the hallway, and he says something that he just acknowledges Booker and then moves on, and it's like even in that fleeting moment, it's surreal to see Joey Pants interacting with Booker T.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like so many strange things that if you watch this movie like back, like we just did, and all the weird things, like for example, the finish of the main event. I was never under the impression that the cage was gimmicked. There was no way in any book whatsoever that gravity could make somebody go through 3 different tiers of cage. And then he's dead. He's shoot dead. And of course, he's being dragged away by his minions at the very end of the movie, looking back at all of us like, dude, you're dead. You took that bump. Good God. It's over.
It's how it's how a villain would have died in a Brandon Lee movie or something.
Yeah, but at the same time,
Really?
isn't it weird?
Are you
how
thinking Brandon
apparent-
Lee because Sting kicked him off?
Oh no!
Oh, that, yeah.
And I'm wearing my Crow shirt right now. I can't know if you can see it.
At the same time as well, it's like, okay, so with what happened with him falling through the cage, he's not going to be able to get the title now, right? Because I swear, when he does the spot when he choke slams him through the cages, there's no title hanging over them. Then mysteriously it comes back, and somehow to get it off the blooming whatever it's being, hooked from, he has to stand in the middle where logically there'd be nothing there because he just put him through the center of the fucking thing. It magically heals itself. It's like bloody Minecraft. Self-healing cages. If that had have happened, Vince Russo never would have become champion.
True. But I do also like the nod to real WCW about making their big event at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, because that used to be like with Halloween Havoc and everything in the past. MGM Grand and WCW at that time frame went hand in hand, and I thought that made sense to be the location of the Triple Cage.
I was trying to work out where the quote-unquote first arena would have been. Because I've seen like CZW and Indies have bigger crowds than whatever that place was. The one that you sort of saw midway through, that felt like it was, they got cameras into a Thunder or a Nitro sort of thing in actual arena. But that
I've read
first
into
one,
this,
it
but I
sort of
can't
felt like,
find out.
it felt like the American Legion Hall at bloody Reseda for PWG. Except that looked more professional. Just weird. Like,
I think it's funny though, as a nice little ha-ha, if you know, you know, that Sasha's hometown in the movie was Cody, Wyoming, which is where Eric Bischoff is actually from.
again, as if they did it on purpose.
Again, I almost guarantee it. But the main baby faces at the end of the movie, Booker T, Goldberg, Billy Kidman, and Glenn Gilberti.
That's what
What?
disturbed me the most.
How is he gifted?
DDP's first world title defense against Disco Inferno.
Disco Inferno, exactly.
Holy
Like, no.
shit, where's the rope and the blooming beam?
Dude, even on WCW Saturday Night, that wouldn't happen. Disco's not getting a title shot. You kidding me? Sure, he was a Cruiserweight champion and a TV champion. Sure, awesome. But no, he wasn't getting anywhere near that world title. Him and his hat.
I don't even remember him challenging for the U.S. title.
Yeah. He worked Malenko.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it was Bash at the Beach. I'm not
No, bloody
positive.
even when Chris Bay's fundraiser happened a few weeks back at the show in Vegas,
Mhm.
like everybody came out, including AJ Francis, and I was like, "Oh God, why is AJ Francis here?" And then randomly, here's Disco Inferno coming out of retirement. I'm like, "No, go the fuck away!"
Yeah. At least we got to see Sid beat him up, though. That was fun.
That is,
I
yeah,
enjoyed that.
that's the best bit. No, actually, no. The best bit was bloody. Once again, this is what, same year or a year after Edward? Martin Landau saves the fucking movie for playing not Stu Hart, not classy Freddie Blassie.
Not Luthez. Yeah, you know who's funny? You know who Sal Bandini was supposed to be originally? Jack Palance. I could see
That
it.
it makes perfect sense, actually.
It does.
I feel Landau has the better attitude, though. Like, he's the one that really sort of
Clearly.
got into it. You know, doing
I like-
sort
I
of-
think
his
Landau's
interaction
is better
with
for the
Saturn.
comedy portion. I think Palance would have nailed it on the intimidation factor.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
It is funny watching Martin Landau, like, judo throw Perry Saturn and put him in an arm bar and, like, basically make him scream. Sid
You
basically
don't even have
like,
to just that.
and then that horrible chair shot where he just collapsed into dust, like it was a GCW door or something.
I have now officially seen the worst chair spot in the history of wrestling, and sadly, it's Paul Walter Hauser related.
Oh man,
If anybody saw it,
is this MLW?
yes,
Oh god,
him and whatever. I think it was Brock Anderson.
I don't like Brock Anderson. I don't like Brock Anderson.
It was
at
their
all.
battle. It was their battle riot thing, which is basically Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
But pinfalls can
Battle
also
Riot.
count as eliminations, and so Paul throws the chair at him, sort of
Right.
RVD style, I guess, for him to supposedly catch it, so then he can sort of like punch him in the face with the chair or whatever to do the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Except he throws it, but Paul throws it as if, you know, he's pushing it with his finger. And so Brock, to somehow sort of try and make it believable, moves his head towards it as it moves straight past his face and somehow sells like he's been hit by it.
My god.
They stand there for about 3 seconds as if they're going to each other, what the fuck did we just do? And then Paul punches him anyway to get the spot done. Like, what the hell was that shit?
Oh my god.
That made the chair spot in this look relatively normal.
It didn't explode into nothingness like it was a toy guitar, though.
No.
So Canyon was the technical advisor for wrestling scenes in the movie. And Canyon is all over the movie, which is great, because I was a big Chris Canyon guy. I was a big Mortis guy. Mortis was awesome. WCW, NWO, Revenge on N64. Mortis was the greatest. No one could tell me otherwise. Glacier sucked. Mortis was great. I was a heel guy. And I like Jim Mitchell when he was James Vandenberg, too. I was following him when he was Daryl Van Horn in Smoky Mountain. So it's like, yeah, I was a fan. But I like Chris Kanyon a lot. He's all over the movie. But the only time you actually see Chris Kanyon is the very end of the movie where somehow in this world, Gordy and Sean feed Titus Sinclair to a ton of marks in the front row. And then we never see him again. But we see Kanyon wearing the Amazing Jekyll Brothers shirt, which is fantastic. And then it's just like, well, Titus is dead. It's okay. The marks killed him. It's fine. Hey, the rule is if you step over the barricade, you are fair game. No jury in the world can convict a wrestler that beats up a fan if they started it. I know this. My trainer did this. But at the end of the day, there's a little bit of a problem when you throw someone into the fans. Technically speaking, there might be a little bit of jail time there. So luckily, Gordy Boggs is the law, literally. So it makes sense. Otherwise, there might be a little bit of a problem.
You know, that ending that DDP came up with is even funnier, keeping that scene in mind, because they're back there hugging, and Titus just is out there getting his ass kicked.
I mean, I remember when they had the minions in AEW, the Dark Order minions that were missing punches by a mile, the thing that everybody was making fun of online. That's what those kind of kicks and punches I saw from the crowd were doing.
And that's why, sort of in hindsight, I maybe am not a fan of this as much, because I see so many of these spots and either they were done better before or after. Like, the whole attitude with them is very Dumb and Dumber-esque. The nun scene just reminded me of the bit with Carrie Fisher from Jay and Silent Bob.
Hey, back off.
No, but like in a good way, you know.
Right.
Like, the version that Ready to Rumble did was half-assed. And then the bit at the end just screamed like the aftermath of Happy Gilmore. Like the villain getting their comeuppance by being fed to the wolves.
Yeah.
Sort of deal.
So,
oh man, now I want to live in a world where Christopher McDonald was Titus.
well, I mean, I think Shooter's probably going to get involved with MJF in the new one, so you're going to get close to it. So we're good. So I will, and no matter what you want to say about David Arquette, given he did exactly what he was supposed to do when he was basically a human promotion machine for WCW when they gave him the World Heavyweight Championship. He owned it. He really did. He did a great job with what he had, and every single dime he made went to Pillman's family, Owen's family, Brian Hildebrand's family, and also even to Draws as well. So, I mean, go ahead, Ashley.
I feel he's like the actual strong part of that group.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
Scott Kahn, I did not give a shit about. In general, like, I don't know.
You don't like the sugar daddy?
Well, it tells you that he wasn't even that much significant of a duo because Platt was listed above him. It was Arquette, then Platt, then Scott Kahn. He's that much a sort of, you know, he's only in there to try and get the women interested because he's got because he has the scene where you see his ass.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that's there.
So, also, to take from, and not really take from, but as an homage to Brian Zane's video, when in the world have you ever been given a Hard Rock Cafe shirt from New York and the response was, I'm just going to give you sex now? Try to do that in any way, you're probably going to get at least slapped, if not a whole lot worse. But for Scott Kahn, it worked. Here's your Hard Rock shirt. I have something for you. And then we see him naked.
But then at the same time, like, Scott was the idiot going after the one that didn't give a shit. Whereas literally, like, right next to her all the time was the one that actually gave a crap about wrestling and Jimmy King and everything. And he just ignored it for that long.
That's how life works, Ashley.
You know. Even David
So-
Arquette saw for it quicker.
You know what's funny about this? So I wanted to check the credits out. AJ, did you look at this by any chance? Did you watch the credits?
I may not know what you're about to say.
So we know Cena's in the movie. He was the prototype in UPW when this was going on.
I don't think
Way
he was
before anybody
credited.
knew who he was.
I don't think he was
Easy
credited.
to spot. Huh?
I don't think he was credited, right?
He is not credited.
Yeah.
No. However, there is another stunt performer that's credited, and his name in the credits is John Cena Tiempo.
Oh, God, yeah.
This stuntman was also in, I think it's Fast and Furious 7. So he was a hop, skip, and a jump from literally being in a John Cena Fast and Furious movie. But it didn't happen. I just thought that was an interesting little tidbit that I picked up when I was watching the
6
credits.
degrees of Ready to Rumble.
Yes. But yeah, also, even though AJ's not reviewed it, and I don't know if he will or if he's even seen it, or even if Chris has seen it. I know Ashley, I'm sure, has seen it. There is a brilliant documentary that came out a few years ago called You Cannot Kill David Arquette, which talks about Arquette's redemption story in the independents, which included him doing indies, him going to Mexico, him almost getting killed by Nick Gage. Needless to say, definitely recommend it. Because after everything that he got put through by wrestling fans for what happened with something he had no control over, not only did he own it, but he made up for everything. Not just donating all of his money. Basically, he wanted to prove that he could do it himself. So that documentary was made, and if you haven't checked it out, I definitely would. Got some really good stuff with Peter Avalon and RJ City, and like I said, the match with Nick Gage, where he almost died. So yeah, definitely check that out, especially if you're an Arquette fan. Watching him and a bunch of luchadors like stopping traffic and working in the middle of traffic in Mexico, priceless. So yeah, watch this. We've never talked
Is
about
that
it.
Arquette?
I think that might be it.
I mean, the other things that I noted, the song that I thought was original turns out Cobra Style by the Teddy Bears stole apparently from what's that Kid Rock song?
Bawa to ba.
Mustaya, because the way it goes in the bloody the way it goes in the Teddy Bears Cobra Style is my soul is the dongs is the dongy dangy dang digging. I'm like, why isn't that in the credits of like taking bloody stuff when, you know, Lady Gaga gives full credit to when she borrows a Susie and the Banshees bit for Abracadabra. And then at the same time, Kid Rock blatantly stole at least the last third of that line, the bomb diddy bomb dang dang. DVD up with the boogie, up, but and it's like up with the boogie. I'm like, that's bloody Rapper's Delight from fucking Sugar Hill Gang from 25 years before, you fucks.
Well, Bob Ritchie's a plagiarist, Ashley. What do you say?
Well, no, because his name is Kid. He's officially not Kid Rock. His name is Kid. So Billy Kidman, there you go.
You can't powerbomb Bob Ritchie either, apparently, then.
And bloody Ahmet Zappa. I thought he was embarrassing with whatever that fucking robot thing that was trying to be Robotica or whatever the fuck it was. Poor man's Robot Wars. Whatever the shit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Holy shit. Oh. Then again, I did find the bit I also did find hilarious is the fact that King having problems with his relationships and his children and everything, which in hindsight now screams Flair so much more so, given the mess that Charlotte's become in the last month, with whatever the shit her and her plan booking with Tiffany Stratton is. Dear God. All else fails and it's deer in the headlights. Say that other person's partner is in her DMs trying to go on her. I'm like, dear God. Even Hogan would realize that wasn't a good idea, and he'd do anything. Also, the bit like I didn't get as well is the bloody what's his name? I'm trying to think. We never find out his name. I guess he's just Officer Boggs. Like
You talking about the father character?
Yeah, just being so dead set on the police thing, and it's like I've seen it. I saw it done better in Porky's, and that's not a great film either. Like, oh.
I do like the fact that he shoots the refrigerator and every single bit of liquid is coming out of the holes that he made when he was trying to actually shoot.
That's also somehow a different color. Like one's orange juice, one's water, one's Coke, like one's strawberry milkshake. Like the hell? And then this must have been sort of a bash to reality for anybody that saw Sabrina the Teenage Witch. With Caroline Rhea as bloody Eugenia.
Hey, it's payback for Nick Bakay doing Pro Wrestling's Greatest Secrets.
She's a stunt chronic.
And she's in the movie too. So there you go.
And then like it shows you how late 90s, early 2000 it was. That after the gag reel, we do the nut shot reel. Including the ones that didn't even make it in, because I swear half of those reactions from Oliver Platt I did not see in the movie. They're just
other than when he punched Randy Savage in the
hitting
face.
the nuts.
Then he punched Randy Savage in the face and they left it in.
Which was the only bit that Randy did.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, from the get-up that he had, it was like he probably just legit showed up like that 2 years later to be Bonesaw and bloody Spider-Man. Same bloody Just for Men and dye in the beard. Same outfit, like complete.
I just love the ring in a convenience store. I like that.
That was like very well done as a set, because it's like,
oh my gosh, yes.
At first I was thinking like it was just a floor, and then it was like, no, it's actually bouncing. And then of course you've got to hide the fact you've got to then put flooring right next to the ring as well to make it look like it's just the floor of the sort of the quickie mart or whatever you want to call it.
And in this world, the Nitro Girls actually show up on pay-per-view, which wasn't something that regularly happened. Including somehow, some way, Sasha ends up in the cage when we have the Terry Funk ladder spot going on to literally knock her out of this movie.
And then the bit somehow where Ahmet Zappa had glass spitting out of his mouth when he got thrown through the door by Goldberg at the end. Then again, the amount of fake glass that was used. I mean, Crimea River. Okay, that's a little concerning. Hang on.
You mean when he bangs his head to the glass, he's like, ah, and he bangs his head to the glass.
That's what. And then the only bit where it does look like real glass, it doesn't break, and bloody Arquette's face runs along the thing. I
They love
swear
that
some of those
catapult
bits were
spot.
just put on purpose to take the piss out of Goldberg for that spot in. Was it 99? Or was it 98 when he bloody, No, I guess it would have been 99 because it was in the build-up
When he
with
broke the limo.
Brett.
Right.
When
He did get his jackhammer in, that's all
when he
that
tried to hoodfoot himself. If you know, you know. And then just,
But yeah.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Does Charles Robinson age?
No.
He still looks like that when he's still going to look like that when he's probably officiating Cena and Cody at WrestleMania the next Sunday. Like, what the hell? It's also getting to the point where it's like, when is he retiring? Because it's going to be a while.
I would think it's got to be soon because he only does like one match a show, but I know he's also like head of the ring crew.
I'm just double checking how old he is. Yeah, he's 60. So he doesn't look 60.
If he's a ref, that's
No.
not at old. Red Shoes is in his 70s, isn't he, Ashley?
No, it might be late 60s to be fair.
Okay. I knew it was
Oh
something
no.
around there.
If you're talking about Tiger Hattori's in his 70s.
Yes, that's who I'm referring
That's different to Red Shoes. Then of course there is that ref that does stuff here and there who's like 82. And sometimes he still does like all the matches on the one card, and it's like, you don't need to be doing that, sir. Please. But yeah,
I like the concept.
Go ahead.
I like the concept of the trip. I love the concept of the triple cage. This was an idea that World Class created in 1988. It actually, that was the first one, the first recorded one. And then Great American Bash, that would be the triple cage that everybody remembers, the Tower of Doom. Then, of course, we have the three-way at Slamboree 2000, which was the Arquette, DDP, and Jeff Jarrett. And then it was the cluster that was Russo's Revenge on Nitro, where it ended up being like 6-on-5. It was supposed to be 4-on-4. When Russo came in, the Harris Boys came in instead.
That was the final War Games?
That was the final triple cage match ever.
It was the final War Games, though. At least in the WCW
The final War Games
era.
before NXT took it over, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was the final as we know it.
Yeah.
That being said, it was like 2 years as well for War Games, because it was like, because there wasn't one in '99 for whatever reason.
I always thought that it's something that I feel that the WWE games, which I'd love to see them incorporate. I don't know how it would work per se, because they've already done WCW showcases in the past, and this obviously is well not mentioned because Jarrett, no. Paige, yes. Arquette, I'm sure they would be able to make it work. I'm honestly surprised we haven't got Arquette as a playable character in one of the 2K games yet.
You saw the new Legacy Inc. video, right?
God, yes. I love New Legacy Inc., my friends. That's one of the only reasons I know anything about WWE right now is because I watch those New Legacy videos.
I'm trying to remember.
Wrestling Bios, Marky D.
It's either Day of Reckoning 1 or 2 that has a mod where somebody's actually implemented the triple cage into it.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah. But I'm talking about not a mod, but an actual triple cage in a 2K game. With as much as technology has changed, I would love to see what they would do with a triple cage concept in a 2K game.
I feel the only way it would happen is if it actually could occur. sort of thing.
Yeah, that's
And
something
with
I
the
don't
way
see
that the
ever
cage,
happening.
with the cage being as it is, you could probably do a double. Because I'm pretty sure it's a 4x4 square if you look down from the top in terms of panels.
Well, you got
So
Kennel from Hell, which I know, say what you want about the match, but the concept of a Hell in a Cell with a steel cage inside would work.
no, but
So,
I'm saying you could do a you know, a 4x4 panel top like you already have, and in the
sure.
middle of it put a 2x2 panel. That's the closest
And,
I think you'd be able to do, really.
and kudos to Canyon for taking that bump twice, not just in the movie, but also in that match that happened at Slamboree where he gets thrown off the top of the cage and he goes through the ramp.
Hell, that got him an award nomination apparently
It did.
at the World Stunt Awards.
That is absolutely correct.
Although I'm trying to work out, can we find out what did win? What was the more impressive stuff? No, where is it? That's not Firework, even though that did happen in the thing. It says a lot that when I saw it, I was just getting images of bloody when Jeff Hardy got burned. And I guess Undertaker, which was actually accidental.
Yeah.
Right, so yeah, Ready to Rumble was nominated alongside the log rolling sequence from Shanghai Noon, Wolverine being blown out of a truck from the first X-Men, the stuntman being blown off the ship in the Perfect Storm, but the one that did win was the two characters, the Starefall and Fight apparently from Charlie's Angels, that's listed as they fight on wires while falling through a bell tower, hitting a wooden beam, then falling to the ground. Dodging the bell, they crash through a breakaway castle door and launch themselves down 20 stone steps while clenched together. The performers are wearing skin-tight, revealing clothing with little to no room for padding. When they reach the bottom, they continue the fight.
Well, Ashley, you have finally answered the age-old question we've been asking since the 2000s. Yes, they're better than Canyon.
I thought you were going
Brian
to say.
Cage still asks
I
this
thought you were
question
going
to
to
this
say
day.
they were doing it 25 years before the Oscars decided to fucking finally recognize it. Thank fucking God. Sadly, we have to wait till the 100th Academy Awards, but there we go. Among other things. But yeah, it's like I don't get how WCW thought it was going to save everything. Because it seemed like, you know, the show was on life support as it was anyway. The other company was having much stronger
Extreme
material.
success.
Hell,
Right.
this came out the week after one of the craziest WrestleMania matches, which I still don't know whether it's been featured yet. I'll have to check whether it's in the top 50 WrestleMania moments. Because apparently it hasn't shown up yet, but I'm kind of wondering if a triangle ladder match is going to show up somewhere within the top 4. Please and thank you. So yeah, like you come off I mean, okay, WrestleMania 2000 sort of was a rocky sort of show on its own because you were clearly covering up with the fact that you didn't have any backup for Stone Cold, which is why you had the McMahon in every corner show and whatever. So, but they were still sort of getting through with what they had, whereas Russo was completely like. I'm trying to now work out as well whether the whole Oklahoma character was a jibe at Oklahoma and also at Jim Ross.
Of course it was.
And then, of course, the joke that got cut out from every version that exists. Oklahoma guy being tied up to a tree as if he'd been beaten up. Which apparently in the Warner Brothers people thought for home media people, that was a bit too much akin to beating up gay people, so they cut it out. So if you vaguely remember that bit happening in the movie theater, AJ and Owen, That's why it didn't show up on the versions you've seen recently.
I don't recall anything like that.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
not at all.
That apparently was a scene that happened. That's the only censorship that's happened in hindsight, and you'll never know because every version that will probably ever come out, if this somehow gets, I was going to say it's going to get a Criterion release, it's more going to be like a Vinegar Syndrome sort of like guilty pleasure sort of release for a Blu-ray rather than anything. But yeah, it's like, I don't think I'd watch it again, but in hindsight, I did sort of enjoy it for how bad. It's not sort of like Room, Neil Breen, so bad it's good territory. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, I know it will never get shown over here because it never does. Because I don't know who actually holds the rights to it. The fact that it's only came out whenever it did digitally over here, and that's the only home media release it's ever got. It never got a VHS or DVD release over here. As I say, the cinema listings or the cinema listing on IMDb claims it came out here in like November. I have no clue. But it's kind of good, as you said previously, as like a time capsule, as like, that's what movies were like back then. And I'm like, who knew that this guy, less than 15 years later, would be directing one of the scenes in movie 43? And then I think to myself, no, that fits perfectly. So yes.
I think we are done.
Yeah, as I say, in general, it's something that I wouldn't desperately want to watch again, but then again, this came from the same guy that in the space of 18 months did Norbit, Meet Dave, and 1,000 Words, so I guess that makes sense.
I like two of those movies. One ironically, one unironically.
Then again, it's hard to think that, he did that, but then right before Ready to Rumble, he did Good Burger and Varsity Blues, which are far more superior works.
I was just about to make the joke. We need to acknowledge that his magnum opus is Good Burger.
Although, to some extent, as it currently stands, his magnum opus is probably Top Gun Maverick. Because once he got finished doing 1,000 Words, he went into the production side, and he's now one of the major CEOs of Paramount.
Yeah.
So you can thank him for Mission Impossible 7 coming later this year. And the Star franchise and Sonic in recent years as well.
He is responsible. This is for you, AJ. He is responsible for Starship Dave Ming Chang.
Yeah. I can't count the number of in-jokes we have related to Meat Dave.
Yeah, it makes me want to go to the Gap right now.
Old Navy.
Old Navy, that's right, yeah. Starship Dave Ming Chang and Old Navy. And I like 1,000 Words. You guys know what you can do with your hat. So...
I just find it fascinating that took 4 years to come out. Thanks, DreamWorks.
Go ahead.
No, that's as I say. It was made in 2008, and because of the whole DreamWorks Paramount debacle, it didn't come out till 2012.
It was fun to reminisce about this movie, and it was not. I had fun watching it again. Honestly, it reminded me of what is truly WCW at the very end, and it was enjoyable. And I still like it as much as I did before. I think the panel seems to concur. At least the ones that are
I
in
think
right now.
I do think that anything related to the wrestling stuff is still fun to me, and the raunchy comedy is I mean I would say has aged poorly, but it's a lot of it's the kind of lowbrow comedy that was always lowbrow comedy, so it's just then. It hasn't really aged one way or the other. Like I said, except for maybe like gay panic stuff, but other than that, yeah, it's the humor that doesn't hit as much when you're past the age of 10, like I was at the time.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Chris Owen here at all.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up another one of the time capsule things was when they're in Chris Owen's bedroom, and for some reason the end of the scene is Scott Conn singing "Baby One More Time,"
Yes.
strictly because "Baby One More Time" was a popular song at the time. That's the only purpose of that moment of the scene existing.
100%. I appreciate the Jimmy King figure as well.
Yeah.
I don't think the
Yeah,
DDP appreciates what's going on with said Jimmy King figure, but I do appreciate
I feel like Chris Owen in this movie is wrestling's version of Justin Long in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, definitely that moment.
And speaking of that, the worst video arcade game I think I've ever seen portrayed in any movie ever.
Yeah, it did feel like. I was. This isn't to talk shit on the thing that I'm comparing it to, because I think it was ahead of its time. But every time I saw the graphics of the fighting people, I was like, that was done better 4 years before by Reboot. And the style of like their movements and everything was just Reboot. Like, it was so good. We
Did
need
you
more Reboot.
did you have like a closing thought?
No, I think it's just like I think now, like watching wrestling now, I watch it in a different light than I did then. Um, but I agree with you. I think that like the ridiculousness of it is still fun. And honestly, when you rewatch it, like it's one of those movies that goes by pretty fast. Like you're at the MGM Grand Garden before you know it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel close to 2 hours at all. And this is coming from someone, as everyone knows, does not do well with long movies for the most part, unless I'm very invested in it. This is obviously a movie I've been invested in for years, so this was super easy to do. But I mean, this isn't always a selling point for me. But yeah, it flows very well. Especially when you can repeat the dialogue off the top of your head. That's so super easy. Makes it even better. All right. That's the show.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley, do your closing duties.
Yeah, we'll be back at some point with the actual full-on return of the movie club and whatever, and how that'll roll. Um, but in the meantime, you've got the other stuff on the channel. My stuff. I need to get the. I need to do some sort of video because I need to jump on the bandwagon and just say like I've got a checklist. I've got to say chicken jockey, I am Steve, Flint and Steve. Any line that bloody Jack Black says to basically just explain to the people that don't play Minecraft anything to do with it. For the Minecraft related shenanigans from McDonald's and other things. Owen's got Sip and Snacks and possibly Voice of Liberty content, given that we're coming up to.
I went yesterday too.
I was going to say, we'll be building to their traditional 4th of July festivities as well.
You freaking know it, we will. I can't wait to use the Red Circle.
And then AJ's movie reviews, where they be dropping about Drop and other assorted films. You can find me on Twitter at AshesMyNameUK. Owen can be found at Owen Disney. Chris, pimp yourself.
Married with Wrestling podcast here on YouTube. We're not consistent, but we try to get something out on Sundays.
And AJ cannot be found on social media. And insert line about a member of the Rolling Stones. Again, I'm reading the wrong script here. Chicken jockey! No.
Wait a minute. And like Hulk Hogan, social media does not work for AJ, brother.
Yeah.
And then AJ stares directly into the camera like DDP. So with that being said, thank you for watching, everybody. Whether you managed to catch it live. We don't have the live chat because it's a new style. We'll give you more info about that sort of thing, certainly when it comes to certain things later on in the year. But yeah, thank you for watching, whether you're catching us on archive or not. And until next time, everybody. That doesn't work for me, brother.